Welcome to Hair Hero, the podcast where we dive deep into the minds of the best in the business to uncover what makes them tick and sometimes what makes them twitch. I'm your host, Ryan Whedon, founder of Masters of Balayage and creator of Masters Academy. Join me each week for impactful conversations with industry leaders, icons, influencers, and trendsetters. Get ready to be inspired, learn from the pros, and maybe even have a laugh or two. Because let's face it, if we can't have fun talking about hair, we're doing it wrong. Let's get started. Welcome to the Masters Academy.
Welcome.
Masterclass.
Masters of the universe.
I have the power. He-Man.
She-Ra.
Yeah. I remember
Skeletor.
when I was a kid and every Christmas, when I was young, where I really wanted to know what was in the gifts, I would go and I would tear little corners because I was hoping to get that next He-Man figure or a Transformer. And it was where Toys R Us was huge back then, and it was before they went out of business. Of course, they were doing a lot better. and
low-key shade.
Yeah, right. And it was at the point where a new figure was coming out, just like a new record would be dropping, like Pearl Jam. You had to go wait all night to get the Pearl Jam record. Like the new He-Man figure was coming out. My mom would, bless her heart, would go wait in line around the block for hours and hours just to get this like He-Man, and hopefully it was going to still be there by the time they got there. And sometimes it would be like, it wasn't there, so I got you this one instead. And of course, I would just be like, why didn't you get there earlier?
That just means you were rich, because we always got the off-brand one. It was like He-Man's cousin. You know what I mean? Like we didn't get Transformers. We got there was Transformers. Then the off-brand was GoBots.
Yeah, and GoBots. I liked GoBots.
Yeah, but see, we didn't even get GoBots. We got Zybots, and Zybots didn't even transform. You just flip it over. So it was like a bus and then a boat, a bus and a boat. And like GoBots had like 4 moving parts.
Yeah.
Transformers had like 16. Zybots, flip it over.
Zybots.
So, thanks, Mom and Dad.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. I remember that. It kind of same thing. Everybody had the GT Pro Performer. Everybody wanted the kid across the street. My friend Rodney, always jealous of him because he always got what he wanted. He was like super spoiled, and I really wanted to be that spoiled kid because he got all the cool new toys. And I told my parents I just had this picture. I saw it on like one of those 80s nostalgia memes recently where they showed the exact GT Pro Performer with the pegs and everything. And I was just like, I had that feeling again. Like I still want it, because I asked for it for Christmas. And then I remember seeing before Christmas, my parents knew how much I wanted this bike. And I remember seeing this like little clipping, this ad clipping that they got. And it was a picture of a similar bike, but it was off-brand. And I knew that I was going to be opening that on Christmas morning. And I was so disappointed because I just knew that the Rodney across the street would get the exact bike that he wanted. And, cool. I liked him. He's a nice guy, and his parents just, I don't know if they had more money, maybe or what, but whatever. I got the off-brand. I was like, and just as a kid, it's like I want to be the spoiled kid sometimes.
Well, then as a parent now, we realize how much that means to us to see our kids excited. But I didn't realize how much trauma I added to my parents by being a little jerk by getting the Zybot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Well, the same thing. And now, as a parent, bringing this full circle, right, is the same scenario. I'm like, I'm going to give my kids everything that I wish I had, right? And then you realize how big a mistake that is. And then they just expect everything, and they're throwing their iPads on the ground. You're like, that thing was like $500.
That's why you get them that Kindle Fire.
Yeah, Kindle Fire.
That bootleg version.
Right.
I know Amazon
this
probably
one you
not
can actually learn from the Leapfrog,
yeah,
right? You want
exactly.
the Leapfrog? No, I want to watch A for Adley on YouTube.
She's going to be on the podcast next week.
A for Adley?
Oh, there's another Adley. It's a woman.
Oh.
It's a
A for Adley's like 8.
Oh, okay,
7.
good. Well, she ain't being on the podcast. I must have a van with no windows if that's the case.
Yeah.
But there is an Adley woman that does silly videos. I can't even believe this. She gets over 1 billion views a month.
Yeah.
Through all her stuff, and she just like makes silly videos with her husband. But I'm glad to know that it's not the Adley that your kid is watching.
Well, that's good. This Adley, she's super young, it films all day long, every single day, and I think she makes $72,000 a day.
Wow,
a day from YouTube.
That's gangster.
That's
some Joe Jackson.
But like, what is that going to do?
That's some
to
Joe
you
Jackson stuff.
moving into later in life, like what are you going to appreciate? And I know that you're somebody that really wants to instill in your kids strong morals and lessons, and so that they can become awesome people,
Human
nice
beings,
people,
yeah.
kind people. What is that? Like, obviously it's a great business and they're doing a great job. It's like, you don't want to stop that, but how do you appreciate that when she gets older, when she gets bored of it, when she has everything, she probably already has everything she could ever want, and like, where do you go from there? What do you teach your kid? And the dad is the one who's also there doing the videos too. So it's like, I don't know what that life
What
would
are you
be
going to
like.
do? The question for me, and this is number one, I'd like to, test it out for a year.
Yeah, or two.
And just see how it feels.
Mhm.
So if they want to get a hold of me and they just want to send the money over my way, I can do that.
Totally.
But the other part, I think, is the husbands of that little girl.
Yeah.
And then the employers, if she ever works somewhere, because
Mhm.
a lot of times a person goes in. Now, maybe she just continues to own her own company
Mhm.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the husband that goes into that relationship, can you imagine? Like, can you imagine being a husband in
He's
that?
going to have to be almost more impressive than her. He's going to have
Or
to
he'll be
almost
Kevin
like
Federline.
or that.
You know what I mean? Just hang out,
Yeah.
just mail it in, play PlayStation,
Right.
and just be like, look, Brittany, go ahead and
You
do
do your
whatever
thing,
you want.
you have your power, just give me the Ferrari with the Federline racing wheels, and there you go. I'll knock you up when you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing about you that I've always admired is you talk about it in your masterclass, with your Vibe masterclass, about how you approach everything, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It's like joy. You're not chasing happiness, because with happiness comes sadness, and you're going to be excited about the good moments, but depressed about the bad moments. So if you go into everything with joy, or, as you mentioned that you learn from your brother, how you either win or you learn from it in experiences, and wherever you got that from, but it's very true. One thing that always grabs onto me with you is your unyielding belief in yourself, and that you are serving God, or I think you call him God, right?
Yeah.
God, you have this religious aspect to you, the spiritual grounding in you, and I haven't always been the most I would say religious person. I've been spiritual, but I would love to have the belief that you have, this relentless belief that like everything is going to work out in its own way, and I feel like you believe that, and that like how does somebody adopt a belief that maybe they weren't instilled inside them as a kid, as they go through life? How do you find that belief, and how do you then pass it on?
Well, I think I had to look back and see where it actually came from. So for me,
I'm gonna do this too.
say as far as attitude wise, right? My pops was always big on it. Like, your attitude determines your altitude. And I was like, whatever, Dad, that's just what you say.
Yeah.
Pops would have things. Oh, boy, your attitude determines your altitude. And then, but I realized later on that my parents fought a lot. And my big brother, would toss me into my room and tell me to play with my toys, while he would go out and sometimes step in between my parents. And sometimes he would take an ass beating because he would step in between my mom and my dad fighting. So I never saw that. I just saw playing with my toys. So my perspective, or my perception, the way I received our family was, oh, everything's cool. Sometimes people get loud, but when they get loud, I go play with my toys, because my brother was protecting me. My brother's perception was, we have this kind of almost facade, as he thought, the family, and then the real stuff was the fighting. But it was what I realized, that it was his perspective. It was his vantage point. So we were looking at the exact same thing, but we were looking at it from different angles. So I was looking at it through playing with my toys. He was looking at it as taking an ass beating. And, I think it was the lack, though, too, as far as the disposition, right? And thinking that everything's possible. I think that has a lot to do with, my surrounding, the people that protected me, my friends, my family, all those things. But it helped me to realize that, I didn't really have another choice. So it was like, I could either absolutely hate my life because I didn't have what other kids had. We didn't have enough money. We were constantly moving. We were doing all these things. Or I can start to like believe in something larger. And it came in 4th grade and I was freaked out on it. And my dad was, we call him Pops, and Pops was hot or cold. So he found Jesus. And we were like, we didn't know he was lost. And, but he found him and he went all in. We never went to church before. And then we started going to church on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday. He renamed the dog Elijah because he said it had a bad spirit because it was named Bandit. We were like, Dad, you're crazy. And then, but my mom was just constantly praying. And so I remember them saying to me, like, oh, you need to give your heart to the Lord. And I was like, you're crazy. I ain't giving nothing to nobody. And my heart is pretty important. I ain't giving nothing. And I remember I was in the shower and I was like, maybe I should do it. And then I did. But then I don't know if your kids play hide and seek, but your kids ever play hide and seek where they just hide their head and their whole body is out, but they can't see you, so they think you can't see them?
It's pretty much where we're at right now. Yeah.
So this is the way I was with God. I was like, I'll just act like I didn't hear the things I don't want to hear, and you won't be able to see all that stuff. And then he just started working on me little bit by little bit. And what I found, and we were talking about this before we started recording, what I found is every book that was business or personal development or anything like that, I found tracked back to 3,000-year-old wisdom. And then in my head, I'm always a lowest common denominator person. So as opposed to studying all the different variants, like if you, when they train a counterfeit expert, they don't train them on any of the counterfeits. Do you know that? So they train them on only the real thing. And you can spot a fake from a mile away. So my head, as a simpleton, because I'm not that bright, I thought I could either study all these variants or I can study this one foundational truth. And then I just started doing the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. And it was that wisdom started to come. And then it was a real, and I always push back against the religion word, because what I think of religion is man's way of trying to get to God, as opposed to having a relationship that is, you have to be present and it has to go back and forth. So you ask questions, you get answers, and then you act on those answers, and then you go back and forth, and you have to be present in it. And I found that when I was starting to be present with God, then I started to hear what was right at that time, not overarching right, but what was right at that time.
That's amazing.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's wild. Everybody has their own journey, I think, spiritually, and I think personally, I'm kind of at not a crossroads. But as we learn more about ourselves, it's one thing I've learned with success, and success is one of those words that's tossed around. I mean, really, what is success? It's not money. It's not one thing, and it's different for every single person.
Yeah.
It's whatever really that one person holds near and dear to their heart is what really is truly successful. It's not what Instagram tells you. It's not the cars. It's not the homes. I mean, all that stuff is nice, but it's, money is just a tool. And I think the problem with a lot of the world is we're always chasing the money. We're always trying to get the raise. We're always talking about charging more and charge your worth. And I'm like, you can't charge your worth. You're, irreplaceable as a human, but it's about perceived value and raising your perceived value. And we all really want to be appreciated and validated. And we were talking earlier about Masters Academy. What we do here is we give the hair industry and hairstylists the tools, what I call the 3 core skill sets, where you need to be good at what you do. You need to have that craft. You need to have the mindset to succeed to whatever your goals are. And then you need to have the marketing capability to actually get you in front of the right people so that the right people come and get in front of you.
Absolutely.
You need all those elements in place. And I think we just get stuck on the craft part of it. Everybody's like, just train harder, just go to more classes, take more classes. But again, it's like you're just focusing on one piece of the puzzle. And if you put it all together, then you have something that you can actually work with. Then you can charge what you want to charge, be validated in the right way. But you were saying that for what a hairstylist wants is different than what a salon owner wants, but they're very distinct in what they want. And I would love for you to talk about that. As far as like, what do you think a hairstylist really wants? probably not much different than what a lot of people in the world really want.
Well, I think that we are, and to say we are because, being in the professional beauty industry for 30 years and, occupying every single position in the professional beauty industry, from working the front desk to being a shampoo tech, which most people don't even know about. That was in the South. To being an assistant, to being a stylist, to being a head stylist, to being a director, to being an owner, of multiple locations, things like that. It's the breakdown. So, when we figure out the desires of the different components, there's only 4, right? So like in baseball, you throw the ball, you hit the ball, you run, and you catch the ball. That's it. If you're good at those things, you could play baseball. But I don't think that we realize that there's really only 4 components in hairdressing. There's an assistant, if you have them, which if you don't, you should. Assistants, you have stylist, you have front desk, and then you have the owners. And sometimes the owners play multiple roles. But those are all 4 distinct roles. The assistant, what do they want? They always want education. They always want to feel that they're validated, right? They want to feel like, oh, wow, I can do something on my own, and I want to get credit for that. And I want you to tell me that I'm awesome about that thing. And then they want to be compensated as far as money. Okay. Front desk. Front desk wants to be validated. They want to feel important because most of the time their voice does not matter to anyone in the salon, including the client, because they always get overridden. So when they answer the phone and say, Judy, you can't come in at 3:15, and then that client shows up at 3:15 and the stylist says, I'll go ahead and take you. Then the client looks at the front desk and says, see, I told you, you were just trying to stop me from getting my stuff. Front desk, if they're watching right now, they know exactly what I'm talking about. An owner simply wants people to be happy. However that happy is, they want people to be out marketing their business, so there's a constant flow of business. They want to have a great profit margin. And outside of that, they would like people to shut the F up. Stylists, they want everything perfect all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want clients on time, right prices. You upgraded my client. You sold the take home to them, because I never want to sell, because I'm not a take home person. I'm not a salesperson. I want everything to be perfect every single time. Now, think of this. If I'm an assistant, all I have to do is make sure that everything in the stylist's mind is perfect all the time. Front desk needs to be validated. Owner needs to see a ROI, and they need to make sure people are happy and shut the F up. If I can look at the other 3 roles that I don't play and I just make those people happy, my job will be so simple. And then if you have the stylist looking at the assistants in the front desk and the owner and making them happy, we have a phenomenal culture. But what we do as hairdressers is me, I'm the hairdresser. Everything needs to be perfect now. And the front desk is like, it would be perfect, you bonehead, if you would do X. Well, imagine if the front desk said, I'm going to ask every single guest on the phone, what other services might you like, as opposed to just the haircut that you were doing? Well, I would like to talk to you about the conditioning treatment that we're doing during winter because it gets staticky and your hair is lacking moisture. Now I just set up softballs for the stylist to hit. And what do they want? Everything perfect all the time. And how do I set up the assistant from the front desk? Oh, Judy's going to be working with you today, and she is one of the baddest assistants on the planet. She shouldn't even be an assistant. She could be a top stylist in any other place, but she's working with you today. Now they're set up to win. Now everybody feels different, and we go back to vibe. What's the vibe? It's the way that you make others feel. So if I can make the assistants, if I'm a stylist, I make the assistants, the front desk, and the owner feel amazing. Guess how my day is? Perfect. Just like I want it.
I love that, the whole vibe. And what you say about the vibe too, it's not like you're bringing the vibe. You're providing the vibe for what they want, for the people that you're associating with, the relationships that you have. You're making sure that they're taken care of. And if they're taken care of, then it just feeds you, right? And it gives you that, it also takes the attention off of yourself, because we're our biggest critics, right? And we're so focused on like, well, how do we look and how am I doing? Nobody cares, because they're all focused on what they're doing and how they're feeling and what they're looking like, you know?
And imagine if you had assistants working at the highest level and making sure that you had every single thing that you need. And all you needed to do to get that kid to work at that level would be provide them with education, validate their things and celebrate them publicly, and make sure that you hand them all your tips at the end of the day, or the majority of them. And this is where stylists are like, no, that's my money. Okay, well, That's where, again, the challenge is everything perfect for me right now.
Right.
But everything will be perfect if you make sure that only 3 other players in your place is taken care of. And if you don't have assistants, it's just 2.
And what's your take on perfection?
I mean, there ain't nothing like that, man. That's why stylists, we're, it's funny because I have so many stylists to be like, yo, I'm kind of slow, but it's because I'm a perfectionist. Nah, it's because you're slow. And if you're slow, you're the stinky kid. And the only person who doesn't know they're the stinky kid is who? The stinky kid.
Right.
So every stylist is like, oh, I'm slow because I'm a perfectionist. No, you ain't. I've seen your car.
Yeah.
I've seen your house. If you were a perfectionist, you wouldn't have fries in the back of your car right now. If you were a perfectionist, your pants wouldn't have those wrinkles. You wouldn't put your lipstick on when you got to work. Your hair would be done when you got to work. There's no one on earth that's an actual perfectionist.
So it's about almost like that kind of person. You're obviously pointing out obvious flaws, right? So it's about them owning them being slow or them not having the adequate skills so that if they do that, then they can move forward and push through it.
Yeah, and I mean, imagine if I call it that I'm slow, then I can get faster. But if I cover it up, right? I cover it up and say no.
Or just own it. Be like, I'm slow.
Yeah, I'm slow.
I take my time.
Yeah. Although, I could tell you this. If you're slow in this profession, you're always at risk of someone taking your candy. And the reason why I say it is because people don't want your time. This is a misconception for hairdressers. Is they think, oh, if I give someone more of my time, that's the greatest gift I can ever give. It's actually to give them their time back. And when I learned this over time, where I would do the perfection of the highlight or the bob or whatever it was. And then the guest would be late to pick up their daughter from soccer practice. And that was the time they started looking for a new hairdresser.
Right.
Whereas if I can get them even a lesser haircut or color in a smaller amount of time, they were with me for life.
And even if it's maybe not what we consider our best work, they probably won't even know the difference. They'll be happy that they left. I can't tell you how many times you've seen a client leave at the end of the night, the last client to leave, everybody's gone except for your client or somebody else's client. It's 9, 10 o'clock at night, right? They look perfect and they're going to bed. As opposed to where they could have gone out, they could have enjoyed it, they could have met up with their friends, but they were with you for 5, 6, 7 hours and it wasn't even a color correction. Because they don't like you that much.
Yeah.
They want to come in, say hi, have a great experience with you, but then leave as fast as possible with the result that they want.
And imagine if you could just take these 3, right? So we called it TTE. So timing, technique, entertainment. So imagine, like, some people are like, oh, you just got to be fast. Well, if you're fast, but your technique is off, you could get along for a little bit of time. But if you have all of them, if you have technique and you have timing, but your entertainment is off, people don't want to be around you. As again, it's your vibe. But when you do the 3, timing, technique, entertainment, that becomes the holy grail. And that's the time where a person, I mean, Ryan, like, that's when a person flies across the country from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Carlsbad, not for a vacation, but to get their hair done for an hour and a half and then fly back home. That's when that happens. When you have a client call you and say, hey, I have circled the globe 2 times just coming to see you. Because the haircut was that good? No, it's because all of those 3 together, timing, technique, and entertainment.
Balayage, balayage. It doesn't matter how you pronounce it. Your clients just want to know that you're good at it because they're paying a lot of money for your service. Sure, you can take a class here and there, search on YouTube, learn a hack here and there on Instagram, but it's never going to be enough because to excel at balayage, you need structured learning with experts that have been where you are and can show you how to reach your goals. Hi, I'm Ryan Whedon, founder of Masters of Balayage and one of the first balayage experts to bring modern balayage to millions. And right now, Masters Academy, the #1 online trainer for balayage artists, is now offering lifetime memberships. That's right, no more monthly payments, no more overdrafts, just a one-time payment and you can get over 100 hours of balayage and blonding tutorials on demand to watch and read rewatch on your time. Our new Masters Academy lifetime membership also includes our 3 world-famous certification programs, the Balayage Masters Program, the Blonde Masters Program, and the Extensions Masters Program. Not only do you get to own all 3 of these now, you also get Master Certified. So if you're stuck, lacking that balayage confidence, or just need an awesome excuse to raise your prices, Masters Academy is the answer. And right now, you can save $100 off any lifetime membership. Just go to www.mobmastersacademy.com and use code MYLIFE at checkout to redeem your $100 off promotion. I'm gonna say it again, so go grab a pen and write this down. Go to www.mobmastersacademy.com and use code MYLIFE and redeem your promotion now.
Yeah, it's incredible. I can't say I have anybody fly that far for me. I've flown that far for myself to go teach a class because I wanted to travel and say I went somewhere really far.
But it's amazing. And when I say it, Charlene, if she's listening, Charlene, you know who you are. You know, Lori and Jay Thompson, you know who you are. And when those kind of things happen, can they get it in their town? Right. Absolutely.
Right.
But can they get what you offer? And that goes back to your own personal irresistible vibe, right? When your heart set, your mindset, and your skill set's in line, people can't resist it. And a lot of times they can't put their finger on why.
Right.
But if we could take our timing, technique, entertainment as a hairdresser, I'm telling you, it's curtains. Like I have, for me, timing was always a big thing. And so there's times literally where I got to a point where, being able to do a base color, a highlight, a haircut, a conditioning treatment, a blow dry out the door in 55 minutes from start to finish. Now, what can the lady do with the rest of her day? Right? A lot. Now, that same woman had got the same experience, but got it in 4 hours. And you know what? She was like, I'd be willing to pay double if I could just get out.
Sure.
So that's where I think a lot of times as hairdressers, if we take the focus off of us and we put it back onto the guest and what is it that they want? How do they want to feel? And then we create that vibe.
Right. Right. We talked about a lot of cool things. I want to just kind of end with maybe some advice that we can give to people that are watching this, people that, stylists that are looking to, and I'm sure you'll agree with, if you raise the value of who you are, at least your perceived value, you'll probably make more money instead of focusing on the money and then adding the value after that, right? It's not a byproduct. The money's a byproduct, I would probably say, but I want to hear from you. What advice would you give to a stylist that's looking, like, what are some ways to raise the value? If you say charge more, charge your worth, obviously we talked about that, but it's like charge your value. How would somebody decide what their value is? Well,
I would say listen to you. I listen to you. I think that you're one of the only voices in the professional beauty industry that you've really figured it out.
Oh, like listen to me?
Yes, I'm serious. Like listen to you.
I'm like,
because like
I'm listening
with everything, with the master class, with master de balayage, with all these things, like literally, like if you applied 75% of what was going on, you would probably triple your income. If you applied all of it, you're probably 4 times, 5 times, 10 times it. But the fact of the matter is, most of the time as hairdressers, we're like, until it's my idea, I ain't trying to do it. But what I would say to those hairdressers is I would listen to a person that's in it like yourself. Like you're in it day to day and you know it. The other thing is this know your value thing. Well, if we truly knew our value, then you deserve minimum wage because none of you graduated from college in cosmetology because there's no such thing. Right. It's only 10 months. If you go to 10 months of college, you didn't even get a bachelorette's degree. So if you're saying, know my worth, okay, cool. So based off your education, you deserve minimum wage. So as opposed to sitting back and saying, they need to know my value, find out what the person values and be okay with being that. Like Redman, I believe that he's one of the greatest prophets of all time. He's a hip hop guy. And he said, when I walk up in a club and B's say he ain't S, I'll be that. I'll be that. I'll be whatever you need me to be at this time. And if us as hairdressers could step out of our own way and say, what is this mom that hasn't heard that she's beautiful or intelligent from her husband in 15 years? What does she need today? Well, she needs to hear that she's amazing. She needs to hear that she's beautiful. She needs to hear that. And guess what? Any woman out there or any man out there, well, let's say the women, if I could take 45 minutes and I could sit you down and for 45 minutes, I completely focused on you, told you that you're the greatest thing in the world, and I lifted you up for 45 minutes, how much would that be worth? Would you pay $500 for it? Yep. What if I charge you $500 for that and then I gave you a free haircut, color, and conditioning treatment?
Love it.
And that's for me the way that I always thought about it. And I always like, don't use this if you don't like your mom. But I love my mom. I loved my mom so much. She was my number one until I got married. And she was my number 3 when she passed away because I have a daughter and I have a wife. But I love my mom. And so every single guest that sat in the chair, I thought about it. It was my mom. It wasn't show you a picture and then you do it. And then they say, I don't like it. And you say, well, you showed me the picture. I had that experience. And if I could tell a quick story, there's a lady named Barbara came in. She sat down. She said, she showed me this picture. And I was like, oh my gosh, Barbara. She had the hair down to the middle of her back. She said, I love this picture. I was like, oh my gosh, Barb. And it was this clean bob. It's beautiful, like just crisp. But I knew Barb. She liked long hair. And I said, Barb, really? And she's like, yes, I loved it. I said, cool. So I took her back, set it up, hit that bob. And I've never hit anything like this in my life. It was dead on. It was the picture. And I got done. I spun her around and I looked in her eyes and she had tears in her eyes. I was like, wow, she must be happy. And she was like, I hate it. And I hate you. I was like, what? I said, I cut it just like the picture. She's like, I can't believe you did this to me. And I was like, show me the picture, Barb. She pulls out the picture. She shows me the picture and I hold it up. Look at her, look at the picture, look at the picture. Barb, it looks just like, and I showed it to her. And she said, I was talking about the bangs. And I cut this woman's hair off from longer than bra strap length to her chin, which took 3.5 years to be able to grow back because I didn't listen to what she was saying. I assumed. You look at the picture, there's a bob. Okay, cool, we're going.
Yeah.
All she wanted was the bangs.
Yeah.
And how many times in our life is a person that's sitting across from us, whether it be our wife or our boss or our employee, and they're saying, I want this picture. And you're like, cool, I got you. And then you give it to them and then you're mad because they're not appreciative of it. Or your kid's getting a Zybot or a GoBot. And you say, and they're like, no, Daddy, I showed you the picture of that toy, but look behind them. The son and the daughter are hanging out. I want to spend time with you. I didn't want the Zybot.
That reminds me of so many instances in my own career and how I learned early on, not only in doing consultations, but teaching people, teaching stylists how to hold a solid consultation, because I'd say 50% of the appointment is the consultation. The other 50 is like the execution of it, right? The experience, of course, is all included in that. But the picture, somebody will hold up a Instagram photo, something that's trending and say, hey, I want this. We look at it as the challenge, right? We're like, oh, I'm going to make it look exactly like that in our heads. But most of us just get our hands in the hair, mix up the color, and just start going in there. We don't take time and say like, hey, great picture. What do you like about this picture? What do you not like about this picture? And you'll be amazed. You like this color? Oh, no, I hate that. Do you like the bangs? No, I hate that. Do you like the V shape in the back? Oh, I like the V shape in the back. So all you want is this little V shape in the back, which you already have? Yes. Okay, cool. So make sure you do that, right? That just saves all that headache. It saves that traumatic experience that you're giving to somebody because you want to show them how good you are with your skills, and your ego takes over and you're not listening. You're blocking everything out, just being like, I can do this, without asking them, finding out how simple it really is, what to give them the vibe that they want, right? So that they can leave super excited without the tears in their eye. But dude, thank you so much for being here. We became fast friends, and you are one of those guys that has lived up to everything you've ever said. The way your approach, when you said you make friends with everybody, you absolutely do. You appreciate every moment. You show up every day with joy and every experience with joy, and you just always look like the happiest guy on the planet. And even though I know that it's not always the happiest day, but I appreciate you in my life. I appreciate you here at Masters Academy, and I know that everybody here is going to appreciate you too.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Hair Hero. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. And don't forget to screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram, tagging us at Masters of Balayage. We'd love to see your posts and share them. Until next time, remember, be bold, be brave, be you. See you in the next episode.